My name is Paris Williams, and I'd like to give just a little kind of nutshell overview of some of the experiences that I went through and kind of my own madness process. It's hard to say exactly where it started. In some ways, I mean, I could kind of go all the way back. I basically had a really, really difficult childhood, really painful, confusing, scary, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, despair, kind of going into my early adulthood. Yeah, and I managed to find a way to sort of keep all that stuff down, though. I actually got really into hang gliding and flying, and I just had such a longing for freedom from all that stuff that I found that I could actually escape it all, leave it all on the ground, and just get in the sky and go fly. And that's what I did. So I did years and years of intense flying, and which kept me happy through most of my 20s, and a lot of traveling as well. But then by the time I got to my late 20s, it just kind of all that stuff that I never really dealt with just finally came up. I finally kind of hit a tipping point, and it all came out, and it was basically like the carpet just got ripped completely from under my feet. My entire experience and understanding of the world, myself, it was gone. And I went through a period of just really overwhelming emotions. My mind just felt completely out of control. I was just filled with intense rage, fear, terror, despair for a long period of time. Somehow I managed to kind of I kept this stuff inside. And one of the reasons I did that, even though, so I'd kind of come to this point as a very self-reliant person. And when all this happened, I really got it that, I actually need some help. I need some support. But then once I recognized that, I just didn't know where to go. Like I had known just because some other members of my family had these kinds of experiences, and one member actually got institutionalized for a long period of time in the psychiatric system, and I think really harmed from that. I had a lot of fear of getting caught into that mainstream system myself. So I was in a really, really hard place. I needed support, and yet I avoided professionals like the plague, and I avoided telling anybody who might tell a professional like the plague. So it's just such a hard place to be. I just felt so alone with all this stuff. And I felt so vulnerable because on one hand, I realized that there was a part of me that recognized there was a real potential for healing here. Like all this stuff had come up that I needed to deal with so many years earlier, and here it was. And it would have been much easier if I dealt with it earlier, but I didn't, and so here it was. And I felt like, on one hand, I could really heal from this and really find some real peace in my life. But on the other hand, I also had this sort of message from the system that, maybe I have schizophrenia or bipolar disease, some brain disease. And that was really scary, the thought that I might actually have some horrible, degenerative disease that would last the rest of my life, and I would never be able to really recover. So I was really caught in this place, and I knew I was so vulnerable that if I heard that message from, a respected professional in the field that I had such a disease, that might have been just enough to make me completely hopeless. And fortunately, I avoided having to do that and having to get that message directed straight at me. And I actually, the first person I was able to trust was actually a Buddhist teacher who I trusted, and I shared a lot of my experiences with him. And he actually really encouraged me. He said, I get it, you're in a dark, scary place, and you're doing the best you can do. Just keep it up. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And so that was so encouraging for me to have that message of hope. And so I continued. Fortunately, I had some resources. Especially the biggest resource for me was connecting to my body, because my mind was just so freaking wild and the emotions were so wild. The one place I found any ground was in my body. And so I did a lot of running, kayaking, continued to do some hang gliding, and just continued to bring my attention to my breath, my sensations, as a way to keep some grounding in the midst of all this madness. And that resource right there is so big for me. And then having that trust that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And bit by bit, I started coming out of this nightmare. I started resolving some of this stuff, working through it, able to share little bits and pieces with some friends who I trusted. The worst of it probably lasted about 6 to 8 months. And then it was about 2 years before I really kind of felt out of the nightmare. And my entire trajectory in my life changed, and I actually decided, I moved through it and realized that I really did go through this profound healing process. And I also realized, wow, there must be so many people just like me that are in this place, in this very precarious place, scary place, and the message they get really can change the course of where they go. If they get the message of you have this degenerative disease that you're never going to recover from, that right there could really tip them into becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or if they get the message like, there's actually real hope here, there's real potential for real positive transformation, just, keep taking care of yourself, keep reaching out for healthy support, you can work through this, then so many of those people can work through it. And so that became the most important kind of aspect of my life, was how I can support other people going through similar kinds of processes. And so I actually went back to school. I actually got my PhD, did research on other people who had fully recovered, and actually became a licensed psychologist myself. So that's where I'm at now. And knowing what I know now after going through that, I'm actually very grateful that I did exactly what I did, that I did avoid the system. I know that's probably a surprising message to a lot of people, but it was the thing I really think that saved me in many ways.